that works wonders, you know? You're relying on local groups and businesses to, I guess leveraging is the right word, to get in front of the targeted types of fans that you want, and not just as like a, again, in a scattershot way, like putting up posters here and there, or hoping people see the post on Facebook, and stuff like that. So, and you're reaching people that you wouldn't have reached otherwise. So you're probably reaching, a lot of new people, and I think that's the key thing these days, finding those new people, the people that haven't seen your message or heard of you already, and, they're going to like you. So just doing a good job of it.
Wow, cool. So you learn anything here, Spider? Spider?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to reconcile a little bit with my experience where I've been for how I promoted different things. Like I was always one for the classic go out and put flyers in local music shops and things like that, because the old ways, I say the old ways, but it's not like it's ancient. It's just more classic ways of doing things are sometimes better than spamming a bunch of links online necessarily, because anybody can see a bunch of stuff online and just casually browse over it. And whereas if you're the type of person that goes to a local record store or something of that nature, you're more kind of in the mindset to look for that kind of stuff and to notice more that kind of stuff. So what was funny for me sometimes is that, like, I would go to a place. I played a couple of shows at a Hot Topic store in one of the local malls out here, because me just being one person, it's just me and my laptop, a few speakers, and a table, so it's easy to set up. And they were doing like a local artist thing. Mostly they would have like acoustic artists and things, but since I didn't have a lot of setup, it was easy to fit an electronic artist like myself in there. So I would go there with a bunch of flyers, and they'd offer, oh yeah, we'll go pass them out. We'll pass them out up front for you. And the second show I did there, they came back in after a little while with my flyers, and they were like, well, it turns out we can't do that. The mall told us we're not allowed to pass out literature. I'm just like, really? And it's just, you run into little things like that in places where they've not necessarily moved beyond that kind of thing, but they don't expect that kind of stuff anymore. They don't expect people to be passing out literature and flyers and things and expect it to just be innocent. Now it's all no solicitation and no this and no that, and it's tough. It's tough to go out sometimes, and if you're not in the know necessarily of where your local music hangouts are, so you kind of have to go do your research a little bit and really look around for the type of people that would really be conducive for what you're doing. Like you said, going to the biker bars and biker repair places, Harley Davidson type stores. You kind of have to do that little extra bit of legwork to make sure that you're reaching your audience, so to speak, rather than just reaching anybody that you think might want to listen, when a lot of people are just like, no thanks.
No,
what about... Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to totally agree with what Spider said.
Okay.
To me, I'd rather reach a smaller group of targeted people than a larger group where I'm not certain who they are, because very good chance that 99% of those people could just tune you out. So, yeah, I think you're right on. And again, like what I'm saying, it's not such a revolutionary idea. It does actually cross over into the traditional way of doing things. But I think where you can find success in it is really drilling down and doing that research. Like I said before, it's time consuming, but again, it's the targeted people you're reaching that's so important. So I think it is. It's a touch of the old school and the traditional, but if you take some time to do it, that's where I think it really, in this day and age of short attention spans and hard to get people's attention on social media, it's really effective to get, hey, you're in a place where you want to hear about something like this, and you're hearing about it. There you go. So go check it out. So.
Well, especially with how there's so much streaming services and things now, about how the big thing is oh yeah, put your music on a streaming service like Spotify or an iHeartRadio or iTunes or whatever, and just let people listen to it. It'll just come up in their radio playlist randomly. They don't even have to search for it. You're kind of like, oh, well, that's nice. They'll hear it anyway. But, you know, a lot of people don't pay attention to things if they're not actively searching for it necessarily. Like, some people just put on the radio just for background, and they don't really pay much attention to it unless they hear that one song that grabs their ear. And that gets back into, oh, well, I'm a very talented musician. Of course, my song is going to grab their attention. And, you know, you don't want to fool yourself and assume that all the time. Because it's not like, again, like a Justin Bieber or Beyonce song where it's specifically designed to be ear-catching, you know, and just to be ear-catching and maybe not much else. Not, you know, to look down on musicians of that caliber necessarily. I tend to be a little cynical as far as some of that stuff goes, but it's better kind of to go towards people who, you know, were kind of looking for something new to begin with, than just randomly hoping it gets lodged in somebody's ear and they look into it further from there.
Yeah, it's, you know, I was talking about influencers with you guys before the show, and I think like what you just said, Spider, about like those people that actively seek out and search for new music. Those people are, you know, that's the group that you want to find your influencers in, and that's usually where they are anyway, because that's why they're influencers, because they're consuming this stuff and they're searching for it and they care about it. You know, like one of my very close friends who was an assistant with me formerly and just has a very good energy to him. He's one of those influencers. That's why I feel strongly about this, because I thought of this philosophy before I ever knew him, but he cemented the idea in my head that it's true, because he has, in our local area, I would say he's got a group of, you know, a few hundred friends that, you know, most of them casual friends, you know, but he recommends stuff to them and he makes sure they listen to it. He'll follow up and be like, did you check it? What'd you think? You know, I got something new. And it's amazing, because it's definitely shown a difference in a lot of, you know, locally, and a lot of artists that I like stuff that I probably wouldn't have even heard of. He's like, Jeff, you got to check this out. And all of his other friends, he makes sure that they get on it. So it's that influencer thing. And, you know, they're the ones that you want to get to. I read an interesting fact, and I'm not going to remember the exact stat that this article gave, but, you know, it's something like 10% of people are, you know, they're the most voracious consumers of new music. They're the ones that are going out and searching for it. And it's, you know, 50% are really into music. They're music fans. They use a lot of different, you know, various streaming services and what have you. But they're the one that, you know, you were just mentioning, that they're not necessarily going to be actively searching for new stuff or seek out what you're putting, you know, in front of them. So, you know, then obviously the rest are kind of very passive, maybe put on the radio for background noise, like you said. But it's that 10% that are going to get you, you know, your music into the ears of new people, most likely.
The other thing that I've noticed too when promoting my own stuff is that, and it was less with my current stuff and more with the old metal band, because again we were in part of like a scene where everybody knew all the bands, and the bands kind of didn't change a lot of faces, and even if there were new bands, they were all people who'd been in the other bands. And it's one thing to want to market your music towards your friends, and that's great, because of course your friends are supportive and they want to see you succeed and they like your music and they'll come to your shows. But the people you want to market to are people who aren't your friends, people who don't know you, people who are, you know, brand new, who might never have heard of you otherwise. It's your friends are always going to be willing to stop and listen. And sometimes they might even be a little blasé about it. They might be just like, oh yeah, it's good stuff. I mean, because they're your friends. They're not going to tell you it's like, even if it's, you know, not all that good, they might not tell you because they don't want to hear your feelings, because they're your friends. You want to kind of reach out to those people that are going to listen to it and hear it as something new and be like, hey, you know what, this is really, really good. I like this. I might not have heard about this. Who are these people that you don't know personally? That it's more building a connection with them separate from having known them for 10, 12 years or whatever. And that's something that people tend to lose sight of in local scenes, at least where I came from. It's that you do want to see some of the same people show up. You want to see your regulars, so to speak. But again, it comes back to you want to see new faces. So you want to market to people who are going to be those new faces. You don't always want to market to your friends necessarily. Which it's funny to say something like that because it sounds like it's like kind of a rude thing to say, but it isn't. You know, I mean, you're always going to be making music for people that are going to appreciate it, but you want to reach out to those people who don't yet know that they appreciate it.
Now, I have a question for you guys. Have you ever went out in brisk?
Busking?
Yeah, busking. Yeah, I knew I was going to say that wrong. Have you guys? I mean, have you done that before, Spider? And have you found a band that you want to sign up and work with from doing that?
Well, for me, it's not super easy necessarily for me to go out and do the busking thing because I need a power source because I do electronic things, and I could take my laptop and hope the charge runs long enough, and it probably would. But around here, in kind of the smaller town of Canton, Ohio, there's not a lot of places where that would... I don't know if what I do would necessarily be looked upon favorably, because mine's kind of a bit of a niche as far as that goes. But busking is a pretty big thing right now. I mean, I do have some musicians that I've played shows with, like little festival shows, who have done the busking thing, and they enjoy it a lot, because there's nothing like just going out, picking a random spot, and getting a crowd, and just having a bunch of passersby just kind of show up and be like, yeah, this is nice. I mean, whether they're tossing you a coin or two, so to speak, is kind of not the point. It's that people are just showing up to listen to you play, and they're taking time out of their whatever schedule they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've seen some artists busking that have been really intriguing to me. I've never made the actual move to say, hey, let's talk and see if we can work together. There was, however, one band from New York that I knew did go out and busk quite a bit, and they had a great time doing it. We never ended up working together, but it was really cool to see how they did it. And it was kind of like you'd see this really cool, calm and collected, busking scene going on where, it's obviously like a more stripped down version of what they do. And then you go see them live, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's the same people. And it's obvious it is, but it's the busking's cool, the live show's cool. It's just totally different animals. So that was kind of a neat thing. I know this. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that some of the members of Who's Bad have gone out and busked at times too, because anytime they can pick up their instruments and play, they will be playing. It's really it's in their blood. They can't help it. Like any good musician, like everybody's passionate about what they do, So.
All right, so I got to take a small break again, but I do got one more band that I want to play before you have to go. So be right back with more Jeff and Spider and band managers speak out about the music industry. Don't go away.
Woohoo! Let's Talk About the Music is starting.
What is Let's Talk About the Music, and why are you so excited about it?
It's a podcast with controversial talk and a global mix of music.
Oh, cool. How and where can I listen?
Just go to letstalkaboutthemusic.com and click follow to be sure to get all the info about the bands that are playing and see their music videos. Then click on Spreaker or iTunes to listen live and even chat with other listeners and the host herself.
What day and time is Let's Talk About the Music on?
Every Wednesday night from 8 p.m. to midnight Pacific Standard Time.
I think I'll tune in. Thanks for the info.
Wednesday, June 29th on Let's Talk About the Music, meet Italian guitarist Mirko Filacchioni and hear songs from his latest EP, In Guitar We Trust. Tune in from 8 p.m. to midnight to hear it live at letstalkaboutthemusic.com.
Magical Things offers fantasy art for festival and everyday living, featuring the fine arts and craft creations of Marjorie Delaney on practical printed products such as journals, mugs, costuming, wearable art, formal wear, and accessories. We also carry a line of magical supplies, including candles, oils, herbs, and limited ritual items. All items are created in a scenic studio space in Culpeper, Virginia, and available throughout the world online, as well as at festivals and events. Magical